This may be a very long audio, and I just might have to break it down into two segments, part ones and part twos. It's been very fascinating responding to my callers about certain issues concerning health, spirituality, and their physical body. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and give you this red pill before we even get started, because my intentions is to open up your eyes. Now I'll go ahead and take mine. Now let's get this thing started. I'm going to try to push the envelope as much as I can, and hopefully I don't get in any type of monetized trouble. But I take your health and your life seriously. For those of you who don't know who I am Leon C., aka Morpheus. That is all capitals. And I give a killer red pill that's vital. It is on multiple subjects and in multiple ranges. I am an unlimited individual. Now I'm going to go ahead and respond to my first caller. I'm going to do some cut-ins and cut-outs, meaning that I'm not going to try to do all the detail as to who it is or what it is. I'm just going to go directly to the subject to try to save some time to deliver the message unto you, my people of America. The ones who have called in and emailed me is assured that they will receive the message. However, you will witness. My first caller explained to me how is it the differences between being overweight and not overweight, where this young lady feels as if she's healthy. She feels like it's not a bad thing, and she begins to explain how she's been that way her entire life. All right. And certain other people begin to try to say that being overweight or having more of a high body fat count than it is of their natural body weight versus being slender, okay, is actually healthy, and that eating more and looking like the clumps basically is actually a good thing. It's a sign of health and wealth, like living like kings and queens. Now I'm going to give you a little backdrop on Morpheus. Okay. I have worked in the health field. All right. I have observed, I've watched, I've studied, and I have participated. So the information that I give you is pretty much accurate, and it is thorough. Although we know there are variations because everyone is not the same and everybody's health issue may be slightly different, but the basics in general is still the same that you as average people can figure out for yourself. I would tell you now, being overweight is not healthy. The disadvantages of being overweight is that you are putting more stress on your heart and your body than what it really needs to be. And you are allowing gravity to become a lot more effective, meaning gravity becomes a lot more hurtful for you and your body because you have more body weight and body mass. All right. Then you have the case of it being tethered to cases of diabetes, slow heart rate, high blood pressure, increased cholesterol, and your energy levels pretty much decrease on and often. The average person's body mass has an index that isn't supposed to go above a certain weight. And when you take on more weight, when you begin to gain weight, that is unnatural to your body mass or your bone density, and definitely your height. For example, not to bring comedy into it, but if you was 4 feet tall and 300 pounds, can you imagine what that looked like? Okay, that's a distorted view, but it is the reality of health, meaning something is wrong with the visual. But it would make more sense if you was 300 pounds and maybe 6'9" or 6'7". So the weight and the mass would be distributed evenly throughout the entire body. All right. But here in America, we have a bad case of obesity. We have a bad case of overweight individuals, and specifically in the female gender. And I'm going to get to that in just one moment. All right. But to get back to the subject, there are also things that you have not considered, such as the stress that you put upon your body on a day-to-day basis, the stress that's on your mind, the stress on your emotions and how you feel. It increases your emotional fluctuation from ice cold to particularly upset and mad, to the point where you don't know why. It's because your body is stressed out. It's because you're overexhausting your heart. You're overexhausting the weight of your body. You limit yourself of fluid movement and of energy, whereas your body needs to carry that excess weight around, which minimizes you and the activities that you do. For example, there was a case study that I did, and I always do case studies. I sit back and I watch and I learn. And I observed several patients of mine. Okay. And when I say patience doesn't really mean that you're always operating on that particular person. They're not laying on a gurney. You don't have a scalpel and you're not doing stem cells and things like that. Most times, or you say generally, a patient is someone who you are helping, who you are diagnosing, who is under your counsel. And that counsel, again, is in its various range. It's not always a health atmosphere. You can counsel, they can be your patient, and they can be you can consider your client on various subjects. But to be specific here, I began to observe this young lady that was a patient of mine who requested for some advice on certain aspects of her life. She wanted to get into the health atmosphere, such as myself. She wanted to get into the gym. She wanted to increase her energy levels. She wanted to do better for herself. She began to explain to me that there were some things in her past life that she is not proud of, which is no surprise for all of us, for most people, okay, that she didn't love herself enough. So now she is suffering for her lack and her neglect of herself. That's why I tell you, ladies, you need to start loving yourself a little bit more. You need to start taking care of your body. Take care of your health, because the consequences is not as great as you think it is. Okay, being big and overweight is not, in any sense of the being, healthy, even though it might be attractive to some individuals, or many other, I call them blue pill men, who is attracted to certain things, not to bash their preference of what they think attraction is, but it is still unhealthy. Okay, and it does you no good. So eventually, getting back to subject, I watched this patient of mine, and it seemed every moment that I looked up, she always had to go to the bathroom. Always had to go to the bathroom, no matter what it was. If it was me coming around the corner, or I go and deliver something and I come right back, she's there in the bathroom again. Or if she sits there for a good amount of time, let's just say for at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, she have to jump up and go right back to the bathroom once again. Okay? And a lot of individuals like yourself, there are cases where you might have a dysfunction, okay, in your kidney, okay, and in your urinary tract. All right, there can be inflammation for several reasons and for what you may eat. But I observe the very basic, and usually the basic is what you see before your face that we quickly ignore. It wasn't just the fact, okay, that there was or could have been a possible kidney issue. She was particularly overweight. What you don't understand is being overweight and tacking on more fat, more body fat on your body than what is necessary, than what your body can handle, is dire in most cases, where you stress your body out. Your body is constantly working to get rid of the waste in your body, constantly trying to burn this fat, constantly trying to relieve wherever stress and whatever stress that it needs. So therefore, you do more harm to yourself than good. And oftentimes when she does this, when she's constantly going to the bathroom, it surprises me. It surprises me to the point where I become very woefully disappointed. Because not only do I see her doing this, this is becoming a massive common thing where a lot of women, such as herself, is quickly to overlook and make an excuse and say, well, it's just because I was born this way. It's just because I've been overweight my entire life. I always had this issue. I've had this issue since I was a child. No, I, Morpheus, would tell you that's an excuse. That is to try to get rid of doing something about the situation and getting rid of being accountable for her actions that have gone far and beyond. Oftentimes, women or men wait till the last minute to get to the gym to try to work out, to try to jog, to try to get themselves in shape, to try to function in the realm of health, which is wealth. Also, in my observations, you must know to note, in addition to what I'm talking about, this audio is both for male and woman. Should you so happen to be of either sex, there is something in this audio for the both of you. So if you just hang tight, you will study or learn something that you probably already know, but it will enlighten you. You understand? Oftentimes in my analysis and my observation, I notice, being a physical trainer and in the health atmosphere, and of course, as you know, a jack of many trades, that men have the ability to hold their body weight on the often in the average. Men have the ability to generally look better physically than the woman. You would ask yourself, what do you mean by look better than the woman? What I mean is that on average, men are consistently active. He doesn't have to be big and overweight. Oftentimes, even the average thin man who's never been in a gym his entire life have the ability to look a little better than a woman, not in attractiveness, but as far as his health and his body weight to help him maneuver under gravity. And one of the reasons behind this is that on a general basis, and I've told you about this before, men have more muscle mass than the average woman. Well, the average woman during the studies have higher fat cells than it is for the man himself because of her anatomy, because of nature, okay, because of childbearing. Nature have chose that for them. That's why it's a lot more difficult for the woman to get muscle mass than it is for men to have muscle mass. And it has a lot to do with estrogen and testosterone. Testosterone being a helper in the development of muscle and muscle mass, mind you. So therefore, that's another realistic evidence, but I'm not going to talk about in this audio, to tell you that when you find women who are so interested in just bodybuilding and pumping iron, that she has to go above and beyond her natural anatomy to mutate herself by building up her testosterone in order to build the muscle that she otherwise does not have by nature. So she is willing to aggressively dive outside of what nature tells her she should stick with. Just like a manufacturer would tell you for your automobile or any products that it comes off the assembly line, the manufacturer knows the proper fluids and the dimensions and a torque rating that you have to add in whatever that you buy from the manufacturer. When you choose to deviate from the proper fluids, mind you, my mechanics, when you deviate from the proper torque rating to tighten up a bolt on any product that's given to you, most likely it's going to fail, or most likely it's going to dysfunction and it's not going to function as the manufacturer have demanded. Therefore, for the woman and the man himself, but specifically talking about the woman herself who wants to get in there and start pumping iron, there begin to be some dysfunction in her chemistry, where you may not see it physically. She may have the muscle, but internally there is a chemistry that is changing within her where testosterone increases, estrogen decreases. So she become less feminine. She become more male because she has to mutate to do what males do. If you really want to go more simple than that, talk about a car. If you have an automobile who's not made to drag, meaning to pull or to haul heavy weight, but you have a truck that's made to do it. So you use a truck on a common basis, and most likely, which makes sense, which is made to haul heavy weight. Cars aren't made to do that. But if you try to transform a car to do that, you will cause damage on that car, and most likely it won't be able to haul it. And your car is going to end up in the mechanic shop needing a new transmission or a new engine. But if you want that car to haul, all right, that car has to transform into being what, my American people? Into being a truck. So there's no need for you to argue with what I'm saying. The facts is in your face on a daily basis. We just choose to ignore it because we accept our unnatural lifestyle. All right. So getting back to the source of this basic subject, being overweight is not healthy for you. You need, ladies, to start taking care of yourself and going further than just thinking that you're pretty. It is sad that there are most blue pill men who aren't giving you anything to look up to or any measures or goals to say, baby, no, you should not do that. That's not attractive and we need you to be healthy. We need you to last long. Too many men are accepting that. Too many men are afraid to speak. Too many men are afraid to be honest. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by honest in its variations in just a few minutes. So hang tight. Now getting on to the next subject. Bear with me because this is going to be a very interesting audio. And as I said, I might have to make a part 2 for you. Another emailer contacted me and wanted even more of an awakening on the religious aspiration. Now, I know some of you Americans are getting tired of hearing about that, and some of you may have said that talking about a religion isn't going to make anybody change what they believe. Morpheus understands that, but my task is to be loyal to you and to my emailers who ask me a question. I deliver and I promise, and most times the message isn't running home yet. Most times it takes a few years for people to open up their eyes, which most times ends up too late. It ends up far and beyond the time when they have the opportunity to change their path, and they have wasted 10, 13, 5, or even 20 years into something that they thought was real, all right, but was something that was made up by other people that they just so happen to believe in, not to know, to believe in. I'm going to keep saying that until you begin to sink what I am saying. So I'm not going to talk too long about the subject because I have, for you, my American people, so many other videos that will explain to you in detail as to what the angle of religion, superstition, the mythos, or believing is. As I explained before, you don't believe in a thing, you have to know a thing. How can you know a thing if you wasn't there for that thing? If you didn't create that thing? And I'm going to say it again. I'd rather stand by a book that I have my signature on, that I have created, where I know 100% that it is legitimate and that it is from my hands, than stand on a book that I knew not where it come from, who written it, and it's mysterious and is full of contradiction. That has all its ranges. It's not limited to Christianity. It is a variation of religions that have that. But again, as I said before, it's because we are dealing with a group, and it's not to put you down, because that's not what this channel is for. It's just to open up your eye, one red pill at a time. Okay, is that usually it is simply hope and the fear of being able to stand up on your own 2 feet and be the internal God or goddess that you are supposed to be. When you are always holding the hands of someone else, you are not a goddess, you are a follower. Okay, you're needing guidance. You're not the best that you can be. Once you let go of the myth, once you let go of superstition, once you let go of others' ideas and creations and begin to create for yourself, once you begin to name the tree by what you want to name the tree, once you begin to be your own Adam and Eve in your garden, and you don't let nobody tell you what it is, you name it to be what it is, you explain it as to what it is, you give it your own interpretation and your perception, not by a group of people, not by a religious tradition, not by grandma and grandpa, but by what you know it to be by its roots. Whereas when you get into a debate, it's not about what this thing said, it's about what you said. It's not about what it was based on someone else's perception and their sense of prophecy, but based on your own realistic conversation and perception that you can actually prove with your own physicality. Okay? That will pretty much tell you yay or nay. You'll begin to see for yourself. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Now, to give you some breadcrumbs, I would tell you this. You got to think about how old Egypt is versus when the Bible was created. Okay? By men. You understand? If you really want to understand and go deeper, there were many things on the hieroglyphs of the Egypt walls that were copied, that were stolen, that was wiped away. And even today, as I speak to you, constantly there are groups of people that I will not say that goes there and continuously chisel these depictions off of the hieroglyphs, meaning the images and pictures off of the walls of Egypt. Therefore, you, by the time you go back there or have been there before, it is a different story. That way, the evidence is wiped away from the wall, and you will never know the copies that you have before you in your hand is not what you truly think it is. Because in the beginning was not a word. Do you understand? The beginning was energy. The beginning was the movement of mankind. In the beginning, words was insignificant. The hieroglyphs tells you with the images on the wall that life didn't function with words. It functioned with action, with images. This is why images are created on your commercials and your televisions to get you to buy things. This is why images, when it comes to Coca-Cola bottles in the old days, okay, will make you feel like you need to have Coca-Cola because there was images in it, subliminal messages. You understand? This also separates the boys from the men, because a lot of people today are so interested in what? Image. People live for image. People spend an immense amount of money on Prada, Chanel, Gucci bags, the way that the cars look, spinning wheels, 23-inch rims, candy-colored paint jobs, because image. Where did that come from, my human American people? It came from the past, because words are insignificant usually to what you see. What you see before your face usually speaks words or speaks a communication that words cannot explain. In the beginning was not the word. If you consider, and mind you, it's not to offend anyone. You got to remember, I'm Morpheus, and if you don't understand it, just take your time and sip on the red pill or take a nibble out of it, one piece at a time. Because if you don't understand this audio, trust me, I have several others that's going to come. Just be patient. You may not understand what I'm saying now. So before you get offended and upset, take your time and gather all the facts first. If you consider yourself to be anywhere near intelligent or smart, you will gather the facts first before you be offended. If you're offended before you get a chance to do your own research and gather the facts, you need to question how you and your perception will work out when it considers itself to be true or not true. Now listen. If you think that any superior God is reduced or needs to be reduced in the power of words, then you need to reestablish your definition of what you think a superior God is. a superior real God or entity, which have, or as you may claim, created the heavens and earth, will not be so reduced to just words. Trust me when I tell you this, that is a human thing. That is an American thing if it's in English. Okay, that is a westernized thing if it is supposed to be some sort of a classic, clean, straightforward English language. Because that wasn't the first thing in the past. The first thing was people. Okay? And one of the very first things before even the time that you consider the Bible to be created was Egypt itself. So I'm going to leave you with that breadcrumb. Take your time and rummage on that. Because there was no printing press when Egypt was created. There was no machines back in that time. You understand? There was no cutting of the trees to the point to where it was so fine of a paper. Okay? And it's so technical where you have these chapters after chapters after chapters. No. There may have been scrolls. You understand? But who was behind putting it all together? You understand? It wasn't the hands of what you think God is. It was by the hands of man. So if you decide to trust 100% what you think a thing is by the hands of man, look at the men who are created today. Power isn't something that fades away. Power is something that is consistent. You have said multiple times that for some of you say that God was, is, and is tomorrow. You need to take your time and think about it for a moment. Step back. Let's stop. Have a seat. As Morpheus, I want you to sit down, Neo. Don't start spitting up and yelling right now. Sit down. Sit down and shut to the up. Listen to what I'm saying. Most of you said that your perception of God was yesterday and is today and forever unchanging, correct? So that means, take your time and think about it. He or ye who thinks. That means that power that used to be, meaning that power, if that power was to create what you consider to be the word. All right? But that power being motivated for men to do great, outstanding things. Right? That means today, as you are listening to this, those things are still happening. Okay? And tomorrow it will still happen. But if you think that today is as superior as the men or women who used to exist in the past, you are not paying attention to the current times. You're not paying attention to the machines that go up in the sky and go down. You're not reading train wrecks. You're not reading or studying what is really going on around the world. You're not watching the de-evolution of humanity. You're in a world where you just want to be absent of facing reality because it's too hard to handle. So I'm going to leave you with that. And again, it's not to offend you. You may not understand what I'm saying right now, but just take your time. Most of you, because you email me and you call me in, most of you understand this. Most of you are already on the right track. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of you who are atheists, you're on the right track. But I would add to you that there is, as I always say, there is God energy. But what you must know is it is not the way that we have been taught as children. Because we were taught as children from another person's perspective. That was another person's vision, another person's idea, sense of enlightenment. Do you understand? Today, with all the evidence, today, with all the information that we have, today, nature is screaming in your face what it really is. Mankind is telling you what it is. That means human of all kinds, women and men are telling you who they are to your face. You don't need a book. You don't need to believe it. You need to, and you have the ability to know it for what it is. But unfortunately, there are some people who escape that sort of simple, obvious observation because the programming is deep within their skin. almost to the point of genetic. But unfortunately, like sifting wheat, there are those who will catch the drift and evolve and become something greater than what the program machine world years ago wanted you to be. But then there are those who will not change and evolve, and they will be sifted out. And as you see on the news constantly, or when you yourself experience it around the world, they don't make it too far. Now bear with me as we continue with the next questions here. Now I'm going to go ahead and make part 2, and I'm going to try not to make a part 3. But if I do, it's all right. We can call it a series to take you from one level to the next. Again, this is Leon C., aka Morpheus. If you don't understand by now, and if you are upset or uncomfortable, then you're not understanding what I just told you. My name is Morpheus. That means my intentions is to say something that's going to be different or make you feel uncomfortable. It is to sit you down and to give you this red pill and look you to your face and tell you that all that you thought you knew, okay, isn't all that is. Should you choose to accept reality and become more than what the world wants you to be and live free, or should you choose to just accept the programming and consider me to be a madman and to be just an average Joe and Jane and never evolve and allow all these things to just manipulate you until you become nothing but an empty, useless battery?